In this video, we're going to walk through a coding solution to the classic theme toggle React technical interview question, so let's jump in. So in this question, we are required to create a theme toggle feature that lets users switch between light and dark modes, and the chosen theme must be available to any descendant component without prop drilling. The behavior, so the default theme is light, and then clicking the toggle swaps the theme for the entire tree. Toggling multiple times must alternate correctly, and only React context may be used for state propagation, no prop passing. And as always, do not edit any data test ID attributes on any element as they are used for testing. So if I hop into solution mode and I click on the switch to dark mode, you can see we're in dark mode, and if I say switch back to light, you can see it switches. Then if I click it continuously, you get that kind of flashing effect as it's adjusting accordingly. So if I exit solution mode and look at the starter code, if I click on the switch to dark button, nothing happens. So our job is to hook all that logic up and ensure we are switching to the correct theme. So in our app.js file, we have hard-coded the theme to be light. Then based on the theme, we then add some container class names, which then get added to our div with the data test ID theme container, like so. We then have a horizontally aligned theme switch and themed box. And then finally at the bottom, we are wrapping our main component in the theme provider. So let's look at the theme provider here. So here we've got a variable theme and a function theme toggle, which currently does nothing. We've got our context and provider, and we're passing in a value of theme and toggle theme. So firstly, let's understand what a context and provider is. So a context is a named data channel you create when you want several components to share the same piece of state. So in this case, this state will all be relating to the theme and being able to toggle that theme. And then we want to wrap the part of the componentry that needs this data in the matching provider and then pass that value into it. So here the value we're passing in is an object with theme and toggle theme. And again, we're wrapping it across the app component because we want it available across the entire app in this particular instance. But it can be wrapped over any component regardless of where it is in the component tree. And so then from anywhere inside that wrapped subtree, a component can call use context with the context name, and you can immediately then read or write the values from that context without any prop drilling required. And so the first thing we will do here is update the theme to be a piece of state so that if any component subscribe to it will re-render. So we'll say get rid of this here and say const theme set theme, and that'll be a bit of use state where the initial will be light because again we have to have it in light mode. And then the toggle theme, well, we're simply going to call set theme, so I can get rid of this and say set theme like so, and then I can get access to the current theme using a callback. So this will be represented by T. And then what we can do is we can use a ternary, so we can check if T is light. So if it's light mode, well, we know we need to then update it to be dark. And then if it's not light mode, well, then the second part of the ternary will be invoked. And well, in this case, this will be light. Okay, so essentially what we're doing here is when we toggle it, get the existing theme from the callback, and then check if it's light. If it's light, set it to dark. And if it's not light, then set it to light. And then I'm also going to create a new value. So I'm going to say const value, and we're going to use the use memo hook. And so what this is doing, it's going to memoize the value until a value in the dependency array changes. In this case, that'll be theme. And so what I can do then is simply return an object, which will be the theme and the toggle theme like so, and then add in the dependency array, which will have the theme in it. And then we can provide that to the value at a provider instead of the hard-coded object like that. And I'm missing a closing parenthesis here, like so. And so back in our app.js, so instead of hard coding the theme, what I can do is I can get that with use context. So I can say use context. Again, we're getting that from React. And then into that context, we can get our theme context, which is the data channel we want to take from. We are now correctly getting the theme piece of state instead of just a hard-coded theme variable. And then if I go to the toggle switch component, again, the exact same thing. We have our theme here, which is just hard-coded. So instead of that, I'm going to destructure it from our context. So again, as always, context, which is coming from React, and then getting our theme context. But then here, we also have our button. So I also want to get the toggle theme button. And then on click, so whenever we click the button, I want to then toggle our theme. So toggle theme like so. And then finally in our theme box component, we simply want to do that same thing. We want to destructure the theme from the context. So again, use context, and then we are getting our theme context data channel like so. So if I open up the preview window, oh, you can see we have not defined it. So if I go back over to our theme provider, I need to import use memo. Perfect. So if I click on switch to dark mode, perfect, everything's in dark mode, and I switch back to light, and then if I quickly toggle it, it all works perfectly. So let's run the tests to make sure that it works, and let's run the test suite to make sure everything works. Perfect. That all works. So again, it's a classic interview question, very simple and straightforward, but ensures you know the fundamentals of kind of the context API and global state management, which as always can be pretty tough, especially if you forget kind of, exactly the name and context provider and all that, which can kind of be flustering in an interview. But again, the best way to prepare is just to do it yourself. So if you want to try it out, the link to the question is in the description, and hopefully you got some value out of it. If you did, please like and subscribe and share it with a friend. It helps the channel out a lot, and I will see you in the next one.